Thompson Productions.
Things are going to start happening to me now.
I think Tyler is amazing.
And I'm a fan of this show. I've watched several episodes.
Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tyler. You stink, Tyler.
Never promise crazy a baby.
Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
Are either of you homosexuals?
I go both ways. What do you think?
You mean like flaming or?
No, we're not homosexual, but we are willing to learn.
But I do wonder, for others, in other cases, whether libertarianism today is just an excuse for many on the right to act selfishly.
Look at me. And then some fat asses in Washington started having opinions. The Olympic Committee started having opinions. You bitch, I know you! You started writing your opinions.
And it just makes me wonder, you're dead, bitch. You know, why are you doing this to this poor guy?
I don't care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is...
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen. That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
Hello, welcome aboard, everybody. This is LPR, Tyler Yonke. I'm back in the studio, in my normal podcast station. Wife is seeing her sister, so it's me running the show here. I got some animals to care of them today. I worked from home actually, and here we are. Did Tower Gang, so I thought I would do a show, and then tomorrow? Bob Murphy's coming on. Okay, I think I had said it wrong before, but it's 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. So check that out. He's been going hard on the Douglas Murray, Dave Smith show. So I thought, sure, let's go down that route a little bit more. I had some other things. Had some other things I was thinking about talking to him about, but I think that's where we'll really spend the majority of our time. So people have sent in some questions. So there's some good things to talk about. Either way, he's a smart guy, and I think it'll be interesting. Okay, what I want to talk about for tonight, let's take a look at this real quick. What's up with the suits? Oops, I clicking the wrong buttons. What's up with the suits that Jordan Peterson is wearing? He looks like Captain Kangaroo with the piping. It's he's certifiable, I think. And I think what we have here, is he is not running his Twitter account. That's my thinking, which is fine. People do this all the time. But let me see if I could show this. Okay, so this, yeah, so you can see right there. I can move this in actually here. Michaela has blocked me. Okay, so she, I think I have the, so let's just say here, let's go to the browser. You can see that a little bit better. Here's what she's written here. And there was a tweet I had, and I'll show it here, or where she had tweeted, and I mocked her because she's really not that smart. I've listened to some podcasts that she's done. Michael Malice was on there. And then she does stuff on Twitter, and she's not smart, and she goes kind of head first into stuff. And then, so she blocked me because I called her dim. And then her dad, I looked at, because he was kind of popping off yesterday, and I was going to make a comment, and I went to do so, and I couldn't do it. And why? Because you're blocked by him too. Now, I don't at all comment on his stuff. So is he a protective father? I understand about being protective. So is he being a protective father and just blocking me? Or is it that she is in charge of his account and she's blocking everybody that she wants to? Okay, I imagine that's what it is. Because sometimes he says complete dumb, stupid stuff from his Twitter, and I think this is the reason. I really do. But he also says things himself. Now, he's saying, I think this is him here. It's not woke right and woke left, a la James Lindsay. Although his diagnosis is not far off. He's off target, however, because it's not political. The problem is deeper than political, near to the psychological, bordering on the metaphysical. Okay, it's not that deep. It's not that deep, Jordan. You don't have to go there, but we'll walk through some stuff. Canadians got you on a list. Yeah, maybe they have. But why are they here in the U.S.? This is the thing that cracks me up, which is and it's someone, I think Glenn Greenwald had talked about this, which is, we're deporting all kinds of people, perfectly fine. I have problems when you're doing people with green cards and stuff because of the stuff they've said, partly because we just saw a bunch of weaponizing and lawfare. Now, I think I still have a lot of libertarian tendencies, okay? Because that's really where I'm at. And I know I'm friends with like Pete Quinones and some, on his side, and they tend to be, and I think this is where they run amok, which is, they may not like the things. I mean, I think Pete is actually an intellectually honest person, and he'll mock Israel and whatnot and all this stuff. But he's like, if he was in charge, he'd probably be doing the same thing. I mean, that's kind of what, the things he said. I'm just like, I don't think this is healthy either way, right? I don't think it's healthy what was going on against Trump with the lawfare, and it's going to be used against us. Much like, why not deport Jordan Peterson and his daughter? They're saying stuff. They're getting involved in politics. Why not deport them? I mean, there's. I guess, are they saying the right stuff? I don't know. But if you're going to use that logic, you're going to use that logic all the way around. So, there you go. Why not? Okay, so let's play a few little videos here. And I also have this, which is constantly kissing, as Toad says. He did a comedy routine, and here's a 5-minute act. I don't even know if I really want to go to. Oh, we have this. We also have Misfit Patriot, his the report, the police report about his interaction. But I think maybe we'll start with Joe Rogan. Mr. Fancy Pants Jacket was on the show. We're gonna do this, but I think to do it right, I'm gonna have to do this so that you don't see him talking. Maybe that'll help us on the strikes. Let's see.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Of course. Yeah, well, all these complex things are multidimensional. I mean, I watched your whole conversation with Douglas, and I thought you guys did a very credible job, all three of you, of navigating unbelievably choppy waters. So that's the first thing I'd like to say, because one of the things I was trying to figure out when I was watching that is, do I think I could have done a better job of any of you? And I certainly didn't walk away from it with that idea in mind. But then,
okay, that tells me something right there, because I did listen to Dave Smith. He played this same clip here. I did listen to Dave Smith's recital of, or his rebuttal or response, I guess it would be, to it. And as he noted, he goes, it made me happy that Jordan, because been a fan of Jordan. I think he'd said a lot of nice things about him. Perfectly fine. But he's like, there's no one out there that believes that, right? So it's magnanimous, I guess, of Jordan to go about and say this, but no one's believing that. There's no Douglas Murray fan that actually, or someone that thinks that he won, that actually, my light went out, that actually thinks that Dave Smith did well too, right? That's just not the way. And I think most of the Dave Smith fans are pretty set in the fact that, I mean, I was golfing a few weeks right after this happened with my brother-in-law, and he made some comment about Douglas Murray. He goes, yeah, I don't think that was his best moment. And so even, people that are not the Dave Smith fan, they're going to say, yeah, Douglas Murray, and those that are Dave Smith fans are going to say Douglas Murray shit the bed, okay? And I responded to my brother-in-law, I said, actually, I think that was his best moment. In other words, I just don't think he does better than that. No, maybe he does. So anyway, I don't believe that what Jordan Peterson is actually saying here is correct, but I don't know that he maybe doesn't want to get in the wrath of Dave Smith or something. I don't know. So let's keep going.
Underneath all that, I thought there's a really unbelievably tricky problem here, and I think that's why it's made it poked up into. Well, you also set that conversation up, but it poked up and made itself manifest in that conversation. And the issue is, how do you identify the psychopathic pretenders? And it's even worse now, and then make a barrier, right? Now, the right was calling for the left to do that for decades, and they didn't, and they couldn't, and the left is not good at drawing barriers, partly temperamentally. The right is somewhat better, but there's no shortage of monstrosity there. And so then the question is, how do you draw the line? And that's kind of what I was.
And it's also drawing the lines. of who's what. And thanks, Jose. Yes, this was a Canadian struggle session. I didn't listen to the whole thing. I just listened to a bunch of clips. But I saw a tweet this morning from a guy that was basically ripping on the Hodge twins and saying they're not MAGA. And I'm like, okay, so I don't know what are all these labels now? You know, I mean, there's always the argument about not a real libertarian. Dude, libertarian is so vast from, you know, anarchist to minarchist to leftist libertarian. I mean, there's just too much out there, right? So then you're going to start to define conservatism or the right. I mean, you're having trouble here, okay? And I know, and this is a part of the problem. You've seen this, which is, you know, all these lefties that go, oh, I didn't leave the left left me, and so now I'm over here on the right. And I'm like, yeah, you're bringing all your shitty ideas with you, okay? The Dave Rubins, maybe Jordan Peterson. I don't know if he was real involved in politics, but how did Jordan Peterson become famous? Who remembers how Jordan Peterson, you guys probably all do, right? Jordan Peterson became famous for pushing back against gender, forcing call someone by their pronouns in Canada, okay? He was not going to do it. He was going to stand his ground. Okay, so he was transphobic, I guess, right? Or trans, not just that, but the trans pronouns. I mean, anti-Trump, no, it'd be, well, transphobic, it's pronoun phobic, it's whatever name you want to put to it. You can say that because, you know, now it's the anti-Semitic and they're like, fuck, who cares? You know, why are we're not going to go down this route. 12 rules for Zionism. Now, Sean, who's coming on Friday, it's the 13th rule should have been take care of the own psychopathy in your own house before you start to try to fix the world. That's what I put out there, Rule 13. Anyway, let's keep going here on Jordan Peterson. I wanted to do this one.
Because I've been watching these right-wing, they're not right-wing, these psychopathic types manipulate the edge of the conservative movement for their own gain.
Right.
And a lot of that's cloaked in anti-Semitic guys. There's plenty of it.
By the way, I strongly believe that's everybody should, in some sense, be doing that. I've said that for years. So you've got something that you agree with another party. The example I've been using over the years, because I had problems with it, which is, okay, so you're anti-war, okay? I'm kind of strong on that. But there's a Jackson Hinkle is going to show up, you know, at the time, RFK. And it's like, I don't agree with these losers on a lot. So why are we always letting them use us? That's what they do. They come into the movement or whatever movement that is, or maybe they drift into your side and suddenly they're more magnanimous, or that's not the right word. They're more magnetic. They're more verbose, and they start to drive the whole scenario. So I get where he's saying that, but it's like, it can be on every which side, okay? I may not like what you're doing. You may not like what I'm doing, but now that Jordan Peterson is in there, he is now running the show, okay? Or the Douglas Murrays, right? They're running the show now of where this is going, and they're gatekeeping this IDW, this intellectual dark web, or Israel dimwits. I don't know.
Anti-Semitism on the left too, by the way. So it's not unique to the right.
Well,
but
particularly now.
Yes, particularly now.
Right.
And so, you know,
Okay. We're going to keep going on this, and I'm sorry, but I do want to play or look at this right here. Okay. So this is a crazy village lady. Why is this not pulling up right here? Let's try this one here. This will kind of work. Let me fix it here. Oops. I think we can fix it for you. Okay, so she's, this is a breaking from the ADL, which, the Anti-Defamation League. And it's, the ADL recorded 9,354 incidents of anti-Semitic assaults, harassments, and vandalisms across the U.S. in 2024. This is the fourth year in a row that the total number of anti-Semitic incidents broke the previous all-time high. We need an air horn for that. Where's the, sorry, I don't have my air horn set up. Because it's, if you don't have the, there you go, celebrate that. American Jews faced a record 25 anti-Semitic incidents per day last year, more than one per hour, with the most related to hatred of Israel. Okay, So we've got a few things to break down there. And now I've gone on the ADL website and their YouTube page, and I've watched videos. I did this when I was doing my Leo Frank breakdown, okay? And I watched a lot of videos of them basically doing their outreach and kind of what they're about and their incidences of anti-Semitism. They had this whole one story of this girl. She got a phone call from her friend, and it's like, oh my God, you can't come to school. There's a Nazi swastika at the school, and it's like they never showed that there was actually one there. It was just her friend had said it was there. So then this girl goes out and she makes a public thing about it in high school, and this is one of their incidences, and you're just like, wait, what? And I kept watching. I'm like, I want to see some real Jew hatred here, right? I couldn't find it. I mean, the incidences, this is like rape on campus, okay? 4 out of 5 women are raped, sexually assaulted, they say, on campus. And it's like they made out when they were drunk, and then their boyfriend found out, so they made an issue about it the next day. It's just these aren't rape factories that you're sending your kids to, okay? And if they were, you would not be sending your kids there. So what's the definition? And then you look, the majority related to hatred of Israel. Okay, why is that anti-Semitic? That is the key crux here. So all I'm telling you is the numbers are wrong. The numbers are, and if you drive the numbers up, then you've got more to complain about. And if you've got more to complain about, maybe you have more money, maybe you could do more rules. So let's drive the numbers up, folks. No one has, in these situations here, has incentives to have the numbers low. No one, okay? Let's keep going on Jordan Peterson.
You've let your curiosity guide you, your curiosity and your desire for knowledge, this quest. You've let that guide you as a podcaster. And by the way, I'm trying to work through exactly the same sort of thing. How do you know, given your radical increase in stature over the last 10 years, how do you know when your curiosity and even your skepticism about the fact that things aren't the way that people say they are, because that's certainly been demonstrated in the last 10 years, how should anyone decide what guardrails to put up? Like, what do you look for? Do you have a conceptual system worked out for that? Like, because
what do you mean? In what way?
Well,
how do I look for in terms of people to talk to?
Yeah, because you have this insanely immense platform, and you're inviting people onto it. And, you said to Douglas, and I know this to be true, that you're not really thinking about the outcome exactly. You're thinking about, this is an interesting person to talk to, and I'd like to go on that quest. But then you have the additional conundrum. We're trying to work this out in the Daily Wire side of things too.
Okay, well, hang on there. Let's talk about it. There's bad people all throughout this world, okay? And I love the way that they now say you platform them, okay? But I mean, I watch TV shows and stuff about serial killers. I think it's fascinating, right? Let's get into the mind of these people and figure some things out. Monstrosity is such a heavy-handed term. What kind of monstrosity? It matters in this conversation. Yes, it does. The problem with me with the Libertarian Party has always been the other libertarians. Yes, Jackson Hinkle is the King Glowy. Yeah, commie, I think they're intellectual dork web. Thanks, New York Post, for telling us that 25 is greater than 24. Yeah, okay. Just trying to catch up with the chat there and make sure we're going. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, by the way, so he's talking now about the Daily Water. And come on. You're not going to get... This... Okay, so Tim Pool, we've talked about this before with the binders full of Epstein stuff, right? Phase 1 comes out. These losers get these binders, and they're all the grifter right-wingers, okay? They get them, and remember, I'm trying to remember the one chick's name. She went on Glenn Beck. We played the whole clip there, a 15-minute interview with her, and she was saying that their whole prospect, the whole reason they were doing this, or they got this offer, was because they were the new media, okay? They go in there, and they're the new media. Fine. And they didn't do anything, right? They didn't walk out. They got they got just like trounced. Okay, Pam Bondi made a fool of them, and they allowed it to happen because they're not media. Okay, they're same as the other ones. They're just for the other side. Tim Pool gets a chance now to go to the White House. He sits in this side chair. He wears his beanie. I don't know if Tim complained about Zelensky not wearing a suit in the White House, but let's get your shit together. Why is he there? Anyway, Tim's there and he gets to ask a question that they're, putting up. And instead of pushing the administration maybe on an issue where maybe you've got a tough question, he complains about people mocking someone that's been in his seat, literal the seat here. And I'm like, there we go. It's the same thing. So Daily Wire, they're not a reputable news organization either. And I'm sorry that Jordan Peterson is struggling with these things at the Daily Wire of who can we have on our shows? Well, we got rid of Beck Cooper. We got rid of Candace Owens. God forbid they're going to get rid of Matt Walsh at some point. He's going to wake up and find that this shit show is going. Jeremy Boring, he's selling chocolate bars still. I don't know. But these people are a mess.
Not to say that that's exactly the same situation. It's like once you gain...
No, because Joe Rogan's not going bankrupt.
...in reach and authority, then how do you know that... How do you take great care that the people you're talking to aren't, what would you say, eliciting or feeding a subculture, yeah, that's right, that hasn't got the proper aims?
Dude, you can't do that. And why are you insisting that what about you? There's people out there that think that, Trump's a Nazi. They think, Daryl Cooper's this guy probably does too. But I think people like, Ben Shapiro, what is the Daily Wire? What about what you're fostering underneath? You know what you're fostering underneath? I just saw a picture. Is you, Jordan Peterson, I guess you, Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, and Netanyahu all out to dinner. Oh, well, God forbid, are you going to ask him about, war crimes that he's been accused of? And, I think the UN actually Security Council or whoever it was has already said that he's a war criminal. He's wanted for that. And so there's people out there that can say the same thing about you. So who fucking cares? Stop it with this underbelly, right? Because it's always a way to try to be subversive to someone else about their thoughts, their thought criminal shit. Let's keep going here.
I guess the legacy media probably worked that out by having people, mediators, right?
No, they didn't work it out. We've been complaining about them as well. They're just stooges for whomever they are for.
Guests, and that was also back when we could rely on the structures of authority in some sense to filter. And now we're in this helter-skelter world where everything is
the
up
legacy
for
media
grabs.
is the worst at that now.
Yeah, I know.
They're the worst at that, which is fascinating. It really...
But, it's interesting he says that because you'll watch old, news stuff, William F. Buckley, vaunted all this stuff. CIA guy, pushing some horrible shit. But same with the other side. So, they figured it out. No.
Yes. It's really fascinating when you lose faith in a New York Times piece. It's like you go like, well, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
I know this. I know what they're doing. I know they're just, this is editorial bullshit. And that didn't used to be the case, I don't think.
No, it didn't.
Walter Duranty wrote for the New York Times in the 1920s, went to the Soviet Union, got traipsed around. I don't think he got to see the Potemkin villages, but what are those? Those are fake villages that the Soviets would bring people to make it look like, look, we're just like the U.S., we're great, look at all these, and they were fake. They were fucking fake, okay? But Walter Duranty goes over there, wins a prize, I think a Pulitzer Prize or whatever it is for news, writing for the New York Times, and he's like, the Soviet Union is fine, there's freedom, bullshit. Okay, he was like Douglas Murray being traipsed around by the IDF. Okay, so. And that was way back when. So this shit has been happening forever. I read a book. I'm trying to remember the author's name, but it's called Muckraker, and it was about Hamilton and the chicks he's banging and the duel that he has, right? So with Burr. So shit's been going on forever, and you can't. And this is the problem. If you're trying to legislate what is good and what's bad and the fact checkers and all this stuff, you just have to go with people that you think you can believe, and then, maybe do some work on your own. Okay. So that's the end of that clip there. I'm just not impressed with that kind of thing because he's trying to be careful And I understand where you know, Jordan Peterson is trying to be careful in a way, but he's trying to really get to the point of, dude, we can't be platforming. You've got to be watching out for platforming these people. So tomorrow, Bob Murphy on the show, we're going to talk a little bit about Daryl Cooper. This is the frustrating part about Daryl Cooper, which is I've gone through his podcast over and over and over. And yeah, sure, he shit posts about some things. I think he does flirt a little bit with some of that, you know, Thomas 777 and whatnot. I don't fucking care. I mean, one, he's not running for anything. And there's Bernie Sanders out there who's an outright socialist who went to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon. He wrote something in college about how women enjoy the R grape word, right? Getting what Shannon Sharpe has been accused of. So you know, and yet you know, this guy is the one we're going to be worried about. Yeah. Any new stuff? Good evening, Tyler. Hey, Zach, how you doing? Bill Buckley threatening to punch Vidal, calling him a fag on TV was based though. Yes, Gord Vidal, it was Gord Vidal. They had their little stuff going back and forth. He goes, punch you. I should find that clip, actually. That would be actually somewhat humorous. See if we can find that one here. Gore Vidal. There you go. William F. Buckley. Let's see if we can find that one. Let's see if this is the one here. I don't know if this is the one, but let's give it a shot since it's you know, we want to take him down. Let's take him down. This will be fine.
And many people in the United States happen to believe that the United States policy is wrong in Vietnam, and the Viet Cong are correct in wanting to organize their country in their own way politically. This happens to be pretty much the opinion of Western Europe and many other parts of the world. If it is a novelty in Chicago, that is too bad. But I assume that the point of the American democracy is you can express any point of view you want. Shut up a minute.
No, I won't. And some people were pro-Nazi, and the answer is that they were well treated by people who ostracized them, and I'm for ostracizing people who egg on other people to shoot American Marines and American soldiers. I know you don't care.
As far as I'm concerned, the only sort of pro-crypto-Nazi I can think of is yourself. Failing that, I would only say that we can't have.
Now listen, you queer. Stop calling me a crypto-Nazi.
Let's stop calling names.
You in your goddamn face, and you'll stay plastered.
Gentlemen, let's
Bill. Let the author of Myra Breckenridge go back to his pornography and stop making any illusions of Nazism to somebody who was in the infantry in the last war.
You were not in the infantry, as a matter of fact. You didn't fight in the war.
There you go. You know, that broke down pretty quick. You call someone a Nazi, a crypto-Nazi. I don't know what he meant by crypto-Nazi at the time, but I think it was hard to hear there, but I think Buckley, who's got a kind of a wordsmith, I think he might have called him, as you said, the bundle of sticks, and told him to go back to his pornography or something like this. I mean, I don't know. It is interesting that little concept there. I kind of got it. It was kind of hard to hear. It sounded like to me that Buckley was upset that people would be shooting at Americans, and how dare you think that it's okay to shoot at Americans? But I'm like, I think those Americans are in Vietnam. They're not in the U.S. So when you're over there in another country and your shit's going wild, and then you're mad that they're getting shot at. I mean, okay, okay, I get it. It looks kind of like Lindsey Graham. Yeah, it did look kind of like Lindsey Graham. Okay, let's, I wanted to play, do I have another clip here? I might have another clip of our boy Jordan Peterson. I don't know if it was the same ones. He's talking here on Hannity. I wanted to get, let's see if we can get this one. I don't know if this is, I don't think that's where we want. Okay, just hang on with me, folks. I think we're going to be able to play this. There we go.
You also set that conversation up, but
no, we heard that one. So let's let me look in here because I think I had a different quote. Well, let's see what he's saying here on Fox News. He's yip yapping on Fox. So let's there we go. Different suit though.
Well, I think the most important thing to do first is to draw a distinction between the political and the psychological, and not to collapse them together. So imagine this. Imagine that there's a group of individuals, about 4% of the population, who have a set of personality characteristics that have been described as dark tetrad. So they're Machiavellian. They use their language to manipulate. They're narcissistic.
Okay. I know he's a psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever. He's a doctor of the mind of some sort. And you know, I had a trial where someone was trying to come in there and had never, you know, this happens, tries to basically analyze one of the parties, and they don't. They've never interviewed them, so you know. And we brought a counter in there, someone that deals with ethics for psychiatrists, and basically, you know, it's you can't just go around diagnosing people you haven't had under your care. It's just not, you know, prudent. So that's kind of what he's doing here. Now he's taking an overview, which is perfectly fine, kind of profiling. I get that. Okay. But the myopic view of so many of these little issues, which I think it could be pointed back. You see this with this woke right commentary, right? That, you know, what's the woke aspect? The woke is all about some sort of, you know, the identity politics, right? Well, okay. So is Dave Smith, as an example, which they call him woke right now, is he obsessed with identity politics, or is he just talking about a war? Okay, he's Jewish and he's kind of pushing back against Zionism or Israel, actually. Or are the people that are so fixated on calling everybody that disagrees with the war anti-Semites? You're a Jew hater. And it's just like, I think they're doing exactly what the woke is doing. So they're trying to mix it up here. And they're intentionally trying to do this because they're trying to get you off your game. They're trying to make sure that you're not able to complain. And I'm sorry, I tend to, if you look back at my, you know, Sean was in here and he was talking about, come on my show, on his show last night, and he goes to my webpage and he's, you know, my YouTube, and he's showing it. Once again, love that. Thank you, Sean. Didn't ask you to do that, but I appreciate it. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of Israel woke politics stuff I'm doing all the time, and sometimes I get tired of it myself. But this shit keeps coming up, right? And now he's going on there with the big platform on the right, and he's going to be pushing it. It's just this. We just saw it with the ADL stuff, right? Which is, hey, there's a lot of anti-Semitism. By the way, most of it is hatred towards Israel. And I'm like, okay, well, they're killing a bunch of kids. There's a war over there that no one wants to support. I don't care whose side you are. We shouldn't be on giving these people money. And then you're seeing stuff like Miss Patriot and Michaela Peterson and other people that are just saying outright crazy shit. You know, the Misfit Patriot dude, or girl, or whatever he is, he's like, we need more dead bodies. And, you know, Ron Coleman, attorney out there that a lot of you probably think is great, he's retweeting it. And then when Misfit Patriot quote tweets his own, you know, because he goes, let's get this to 1 million. And he re-quote tweets that. And I'm like, what's wrong with you people? You don't have any humanity. Okay, let's keep going here.
They want unearned social status and reputation. They're psychopathic, which makes them free of empathy and parasitical and predatory. And they're sadistic. So now, I don't know who he's talking about, and I wish he'd be more specific, because if you're talking about Dave Smiths or people like me, the sympathy is with people losing children. And that's like, I start to get it, right? You know, I've changed my mind in a lot of this, and I know one of our guys over here, he has a different view. He went and fought in, I don't know if it was Gulf War or whatever, one of the Desert Storm, basically had a bad feeling over there, experience over there, and I get it. But those people also had a bad experience of you being over there, so I get that too. And that's all I'm really going at here. Max Mura, thanks for joining us again. It's a psychologist, not an MD psychiatrist, from Kazakhstan, but he did lecture at one time at Harvard, then later at Toronto and Canada land. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it. I get those mixed up all the time with a psychiatrist, psychologist, but I think it is a doctor. I think Jordan Peterson is Dr. Peterson. Now, it may be Canadian doctor. I don't know if that's the same thing as U.S. doctor, but we'll let it slide. Okay, let's keep going. Take positive delight in the unnecessary suffering of others. Now, those people also use false cries of victimization, let's say, to manipulate, and they're entitled.
what did we just see with the ADLs listing? And I've talked to you about that, which is, I think a lot of that is false, okay? Or it's over counting. And there's a reason for that, because then you're the ultimate victim, and then you get a really, hey, look, what's the point of wanting to say that, it's on the rise? Hatred for Jews is on the rise. Who benefits from that? And then you're like, well, why would the Jews benefit from that? Because the ADL is the one putting it out. I mean, they're putting it out for a reason, because they want to bring attention to this, and they want something to be done about it, right? It's Lance Armstrong's Cancer Foundation.
Seek vengeance when it's unwarranted, and they protest loudly and make very public cries for reparations that would be self-serving. Okay, now the way those people operate is they look for what patterns of belief form groups that they can infiltrate and then capitalize on. And that happens on the right. We did a report, the same group, on the use of Christ as king as a manipulative strategy by bad actors, hypothetically on the right. And this report identified the same sort of people on the left. But it's not primarily political. They're wolves in sheep's clothing who look for where there's power and value and then adopt those beliefs as a surface.
What I've noticed is, as an example, people on the list, I'm going to pick some people on the left who agree with me on some things. Max Blumenthal, Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, Metzger, maybe. There's some other ones, I'm sure. And then you have this Israel shit, and right, like, the one thing they do all push, and they push back on a lot, is free speech. Okay, so I think it's a conglomeration of they kind of came to the right before all this Israel shit happened, and they were really going, oh, you know what, the right really is the one who they're not rightists. I mean, they're conservatives. You know, the Jimmy Dores are not that, but they got sick of the COVID stuff about not being able to talk about everything. Right? You couldn't even Joe Rogan on his platform, he was getting shit on, and they wanted to remove him from Spotify. Right? We just talked about that last time. So you had a lot of those people that are like, you know what, I'm sorry, but the right is where the free speech is. Now you're getting the right pushing back, trying to pass all these laws about speech, calling you, if you say, you know, speak out against a war, that you're anti-Semitic, and those same people are like going, whoa, whoa. So you get this cross section of people that are basically like myself and the lefties that are like, I'm sorry, if I don't agree with you, Jackson Hinkle, like I said, you know, grifter, piece of shit, commie, whatever, but fine, let him talk. You know, he was just on with Jake Shields. I mean, you know, I said Jake's not the best podcast host, but he's got a big platform. And so what? Listen to him. I mean, like all this, you think people don't have opinions about when they listen to Dave Smith? They're either going to like him, they're going to hate him, or Douglas Murray, and it's what it is. So the sphere of ideas is the best place.
Camouflage so that they can elevate their moral status. Now, and this has become worse in recent years as far as I'm concerned, because the evolved strategies that we have for dealing with these psychopathic types, psychopathic narcissistic types, don't work well online. And so the psychopaths can get away with their terrible manipulations online, and they can find like-minded people, and they can escape from any reputational consequences. And so there's always been psychopaths. Those are the Pharisees, for example, that Christ points to, the religious pretenders. Those are the people who use God's name in vain and claim moral virtue and even religious devotion. Well, all they're doing is feathering their own nests and furthering their own narrow interests. And the web, social media, anonymity, enables them to organize and also hides them much more effectively. And this is a problem in religious organizations, it's a problem in political organizations, and it pathologizes the whole culture. You know, most people, 80% of Americans agree on virtually everything. And then there's these fringe people, and they're not political. They're psychopathological narcissists who cloak themselves in political guise.
I think he's talking about the Jews. I think he's been working undercover at the Daily Wire, and I think we just figured it out. Now we've got some great info here. Okay, let's go to the chat. Full chat here. Okay, Max says he's a psychologist, not a MD psychiatrist. Thank you. okay, you did say that. So the doctor is not an MD doctor, but is a PhD in psychology. Thank you. I appreciate it. So he's, as Nitty Thork says, oh, Mr. Peterson is pulling a Jill Biden. Yes, it definitely is. Unlike claiming doctor for a PhD in English, lit, or education, that's disingenuous to do that. Isn't Hinkle some type of Yemeni warlord? No, I think you're thinking of, I don't know. Oh, yeah, yes, you're right. He went over there to Yemen, and it was like in front of this huge crowd, like an AOC style crowd. And he's like, speaking to him, they're just chanting shit up. It's crazy. It was crazy. It was kind of like the, 1980s when the, over there in Afghanistan, when the Soviets are, isn't he a Soviet, I think, of some sort. Okay, so look, here's my thing with Jordan Peterson, which is get off your Daily Wire and start doing your own shit again, okay? Just be your own boss. Spread your own thoughts. I used to enjoy Jordan Peterson. He'd go on, he would talk about, you remember when he would, the chick he had, I played that for my wife. It was like a 30-minute interview over there in the UK, and he just decimated this chick, right? But he wasn't being political. He was just kind of being politically incorrect, it was great at the time and is what we needed. But why can't you still be politically incorrect without being called a psychopath? Now, is he calling Nick Fuentes a psychopath? I don't know. Gay Mexican is my preferred thing. I'm not at all a Nick Fuentes fan, but what is it hurting me? And I don't want him pulled from everything, because look, he and Ryan Dawson, then all they fucking do is talk about how they've been deplatformed and how Dave Smith won't talk about them because they've been the most deplatformed. I'm the most. No, I'm the most. And it's like, oh my God, you guys are so annoying. So would someone platform these people so I could stop hearing them complain? So I'm not gonna, follow those people in the least, actually. So let's go to this. This is fantastic. So this is Misfit Patriot. I'm actually gonna pull up, I think I've got this here as well. Let's see, I think I have his post. Okay, no, not that, that's for tomorrow. This isn't the entire post, but I think I'm gonna, okay, this is actually the post here. So let's maybe see if I could show, sorry. There, let's read this one. This, and by the way, this says here, if you can see it, Ron Coleman reposted this, okay? So I'm not going to be able to show that whole one. There we go. That's a little better. Misfit Patriot. I'm okay with as many dead kids as it takes to stop Hamas. You people sound like woke leftists trying to make an emotional argument so you can argue from a position of moral superiority. You might as well put a rainbow flag and pronouns in your bio. If you try to emotionally blackmail me, I will pull your fucking card. I don't even know what that means. Literally every single Palestinian can die if that's what it takes to save Israel. How many kids were in Sodom and Gomorrah? Okay, whoa. You're talking now about Sodom and Gomorrah that was basically ruined for sodomy. Do you think there's more sodomy taking place in Palestine or in Gaza or in Israel? Let's be honest. Here are the tunnels. Literally every single Palestinian can die if that's what it say. Okay, it said God didn't give a fuck about how many because the number of people who were righteous was 0. Yikes. What about the firstborn and children in Egypt? How many children died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki? Okay, well, one, you're talking about something God did, and now you're talking about what the U.S. did? Okay. All of them, that's my acceptable cost. Palestinians raped and murdered 1,200 innocent people. Okay, we know that's not true as far as the rape goes. Took Americans hostage, fuck them and their whole bloodline. You fucking pussies don't give a fuck about all the tragedies in the world and tell us the people who chant death to America, fuck them and fuck you. Well, one, he's just not correct. That's not at all the way this has gone on. And straw man argument once again, but we expect that. And then I think I have this here because I am interested in kind of calling out our boy, let's do that one, Ron Coleman. And he said, let's get this to 1 million. I have not given nearly enough people the taste of their own from the river to the sea medicine. Ron Coleman, Post that up there. Doesn't care how many kids die. So, I mean, is it okay if you were to say that about Jewish kids? The Ron Coleman types would be crying in their over their Talmud. They'd be pouring, tears would be falling into their yarmulke, and it would be such sad situation. Look at me, and I was like, give me a fucking break. You guys post this shit all the time, and now I'm supposed to be concerned about it. Do you think I'm ever going to be on an attorney panel with Ron Coleman? No. Okay. On 7/6/2024 at approximately. Okay, this is Misfit Patriot. He got busted in July of last year. So let's read about it. First of all, maybe we should go back to the chat before we head on here. Max, for what it's worth, there's a longtime American expat in Tokyo. He went to law school, but failed to pass any bar exam. So his firm, oops, this thing moved up here. So his firm is XYZ Esquire, dead giveaway, insisting others address you by titles. Okay. The only bar association is a member of is the Ropaging Bar, a popular drinking area. It's a joke. Okay. Okay. A lot of people also hate the fact that we dropped the bombs, partially because it killed the. Yes. Okay. But you don't understand there, Brain Bucket, or who did that? Yeah, Brain Bucket. We sent leaflets first. Good evening, sir, says Curtis. Thank you, Curtis. Also, Nagasaki has a huge population of Christians and had a POW camp. Kind of shitty place to bomb for those reasons, too, in my opinion. So, it wasn't we walked through this before when you had an occupied territory, which Palestine is, especially Gaza, has been indicated that it is under the world court and rules. You have a responsibility in many different ways, and one of those things that you can't have communal justice, right? You can't basically condemn an entire community for the sins of their leaders and whatnot, and that's actually what you're doing here. I forgot about the leaflets. Sorry, all my moral concerns are gone now. Yeah, okay. Let's get back to the browser. Okay, so we're reading this here at approximately. So it's 2:14, 02:14 hours. Officer Twarney, 20, wow, what a weird name. And I've got a weird name, so there you go. Responded to 25 Allied Drive, the Hilton, for a report of a fight in the front lobby. Officer Driscoll, Officer Rahili, and Officer G. McCarthy also responded. On arrival, I observed the suspect, ID'd as Zachary Bonifilio, aka Miss Fit Patriot, lying down on the ground in handcuffs. Bonifilio was screaming and yelling that he was just jumped by 5 men. Okay, so first of all, let's read through this. It's just a police report, and we'll see if what he's saying is corroborated. I spoke with Ware Security Officer Anthony Williams. Williams stated that he was approached by a patron of the hotel who stated that there was an altercation in the lobby. Williams stated that he went out into the lobby. He observed Bonifilio punch the patron in the face. And when Williams attempted to intervene, Williams was elbowed in the face. Williams was able to get the male into handcuffs and place him on the ground while they awaited the Dedham police arrival. I spoke to the male victim who was punched in the face. He was identified as redacted Thomas, stated that Bonifilio was checking into the hotel and became belligerent at the front desk clerk, yelling at him for allegedly sleeping at the front desk. Thomas stated that he went to notify Williams, then attempted to intervene. Thomas stated that Bonifilio then accused him of filming him, arguing with the front desk clerk, and then punched him in the face. Thomas had a bloody nose that he tended to with a tissue. Thomas stated that he was 68 years old. There we go. So we've seen the charges of this guy. It's either to a mentally deficient person and or an elderly person, someone over 65. There we go. 68. That's the issue. No indication that he's got mental or physical. I don't know if it's mental or physical disabilities that statute was, but either one. The front desk clerk was identified as Dana Rogers. Rogers' version of events was exactly that of Williams and Thomas. I asked Rogers if there were any cameras in the front lobby area that may have caught the altercation. Rogers stated that he was There was not any. It should be noted that I observed no cameras in the lobby area. Bonifilio admitted to being confrontational with Rogers. Bonifilio stated that he was checking in late and that Rogers being asleep at the desk made his long day even longer and more inconvenienced. So this is a guy that comes in, 2 o'clock in the morning for whatever reason he's out there. I don't know what he's doing. But his long day was inconvenienced. And so he's going to beat the fuck out of a 68-year-old and elbow someone else in the face. This is the kind of guy that is inconvenienced by, your child being killed. So, or whomever. So just get rid of the whole lot. We just saw that with the tweet, right? More babies dead, the better. But he's also a guy that's going to elbow because he doesn't want to be inconvenienced in the middle of the night. I mean, give me a break. You're late check-in at 2 o'clock in the morning and someone isn't asleep at the hotel. That would be amazing. Okay. The fact that they were is just, you should expect that. Ring the fucking bell. But you don't have to punch them. I mean, there's other ways to wake them up. Stated that he was checking in late and the Rogers being asleep at the desk made a long day even longer and more inconvenience. Bonifilio stated that after he was checked in, he was, quote, jumped by 5 the fisters. He's on the Grindr app and they're all just there jumping him. Bonifilio stated he was acting in self-defense. Coastal ambulance responded and all involved parties refused medical care. Bonifilio was advised that he was being placed under arrest for 265-13K/A, assault and battery, person over 60. Criminal complaint will be completed for same. Bonifilio was returned to the station in the rear of 623 and booked in the usual manner by Lieutenant Netter. Officer Twame, 243, Dedham Police Department. 9/10/2020 was that's the version of the form. 7/6/2024. Brutal. I also note my favorite targets: little kids and old people. Yeah. There you go. I think that was all we had we talked about Gore Vidal. We talked about the letter. Let's end with Konstantin Kissin's comedy. So there's a lot out there. I'll say this here. So there's comments here about Dave Smith. I'm gonna play this real quick. I think I want to do this. What's this one? Very wise to free press platforms disinformation. Let's check this out. This might be interesting. I have not listened to this as of yet, so I am excited about it. Maybe that's what happened. There we go. Okay, let's try this.
China has the world's largest army and the world's largest navy. They build more ships in a month, I think this will shock people, than we do in a year. And meantime, we are cutting defense spending. What are we doing to prepare for a possible war with China?
Well, military. We also essentially approved a budget, which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion. And nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now. So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military.
Okay, so that's I guess the military is getting a pay raise, and there's nothing we're really looking. Okay, let's. This is my own tweet here. This is my own tweet. This is Bob Murphy. He doesn't.
When Murray and then all of his sycophants try to demonstrate just how ludicrous it is that Dave is allowed to talk about these things, they always bring up, I mean, imagine if somebody went on Rogan's show and tried to talk about MMA when they weren't experts. Both Cooper and Dave literally did that. And this is the weirdest thing, Adam. So Joe's policy, it seems to me, I haven't heard him enunciate, is that if someone wants to talk about mixed martial arts, Joe's willing to talk to the guy as long as the guy's saying stuff that makes sense, right? And then, if the guy said something stupid, he would interrupt, but he wouldn't say, hold up, who have you fought? Or, how many years have you spent color commentating, right? So, again, now, in fairness, I get it. Their point is, well, no, we're saying Rogan's not the expert in the Middle East or something. And so when, he has these guys on and they pontificate. And so, right. And so then when Rogan has, I don't know, Douglas Murray on, he can give the other side. But he chose not to. He had 3 hours. So it's just crazy. So anyway, back to the specific thing of this, and we can move on. But he says, there's a popular clip on the Joe Rogan YouTube channel in which Smith, quote, breaks down why Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine. I was unable to find one of him breaking down BJJ moves, despite Smith possessing a similar expertise on both subjects. No, that's not. Dave does have a decent level of expertise. So it's this weird thing where they're saying, oh, you're saying you're an expert. And then Dave out of humor says, well, no, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. Like he would defer to Horton or other people on this stuff.
Okay, so there's that. But you know what? Dave actually did have a MMA podcast, Yo MMA Rap. It was with Louis J. Gomez. So he's actually, so I bet he did, have some sort of breakdown there that Murray couldn't find. Okay, we talked about that. I think we're about done for the evening. Once again, I'm going to have tomorrow, check us in here live for Bob Murphy. You just heard him there. That's the guy that's going to be on the show tomorrow. Smart guy, economist, should be just perfectly fine. And I can play that. That's a 9-minute clip, 2 minutes. I thought I had one more thing I wanted to look for. Okay, this is talking about the psychopathy of some of these people here. Let's take a look at this. So this was basically a guy saying, look how he's talking. Jordan Peterson is talking about the crazy people, but I'm okay with as many dead kids as it takes to stop. There's no suffering adequate for these animals. May the streets of Gaza overflow with blood. That's Representative Randy Fine. Kill them all, no mercy, bombs away. Abby Libby, the Palestinian Society cheers dead Israeli babies. I don't care if their children die. They deserve to watch their children die. No more mercy. There you go. Look, and I'm not at all a Hamas fan at all. I'm just tired of all this back and forth shit like this. It's just disturbing. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys have a better way of all this. So I don't know. All right, that's all we have for tonight. Let's see what else we had. Max, was the main shipyard right? IIRC, the reason for Nagasaki as the backup was Mitsubishi plant, which they missed a bit, but that doesn't really matter with an A-bomb. Okay, I guess you guys are just going back and forth there. Thanks everybody for joining us tonight. We did this just in under an hour. I think I cleared out everything I wanted to. Ranting, raving, Jordan Peterson shit aside. Tomorrow, Bob Murphy, and then Friday we're doing a Ricada. I think it's the last Ricada stuff. I've seen him posting things and he's going, talking. I'm not at all interested, but I am interested in wrapping this whole thing up. We've talked about it. I am going to play a new clip of his, though, because he was talking about his family law case, and I'm not quite sure because he brings some stuff out there that he's not sure about either. So he said, yes. Okay, have a good night. Thank you guys for coming in here. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, I'm leaving now, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Tyler, if you had any clout about you, if you had any knowledge of the real world of what happens, we walk into Tim Katz's studio, immediately there's 4 Jewish lawyers.
King of the Druids!
Oh, that's all we needed. A Jewish princess.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't expect the normies like Tyler to understand these kind of things. He's just a podunk lawyer somewhere in rural California. He's an idiot, really.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
This guy's, I wouldn't say he's full of shit, but I'd say he's stupid. Whatever, if you're in the comments, if you're in the chat now, I wouldn't pay attention to anything he says anyway. But
more or less, eat shit and die.
Don't ever come to the top left. He will end you. Do you see what he just did to Tyler? Just fucking challenge this.
Yeah, Tyler's done.
Top is a maniac.
He can't even reply right now because he's crippled.
He's got nothing to say.
What are you talking about? I didn't say that. Why don't you argue with something I said, you dumb bastard?